Hello, everybody. Welcome to Limited Time Only this week. My name's Danny. I have a special guest here today. It is Nick. Welcome.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know a little bit about you, so everyone can know a little bit about you.
Hey, I'm Nick. I am known for playing Sultai decks at my LGS. I recently went to Pro Tour Dominaria, placed 23rd, going 11-5, getting me to the next Pro Tour, and making me a bronze pro. So that's sweet.
Yeah, congrats. That's so cool.
Thanks, dude.
But yeah, when you said that, I was like, "Oh, hey Nick, nice to meet you. Oh, you were at the Pro Tour. How'd it go?" You're like, "Oh, I went 11-5. I was like, "Oh,
yeah, definitely not.
That is very impressive.
Definitely not what I was expecting going in, but like, I had my fingers super crossed. It was like 9-5 at one point, and I was like, "Please, 2 wins." And I got him. I was so happy.
Sweet. Yeah, rattling off the last two. That's like the feel good at 11-5 for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I also like the what red deck did you play to go 11-5? But moving on. So our sponsors for the show, it's Oasis Games. So that's our new sponsor. Just wanted to shout out to them for sponsoring our show, helping us out. It's a local store here in Salt Lake, or up in Salt Lake, where their new store is really great. If you haven't been yet, they just moved locations a few months ago. The store is huge, tons of play area, really, really cool place. And you can also, they have a huge selection online if you ever want to order cards online. You can use them to get pretty much whatever you're looking for. And then our other sponsor is the Mana Base. And they are a great website that you can go to. They have lots of content for like up-and-coming Magic players, and their sponsor is also Fusion Games, which you can order product through them too. So we're very grateful for all the help that they give to us. And then if you ever want to support us directly, we do have a Patreon. If you look up the Limited Time Only Patreon, or it's LTOMTG, then you can support us directly through there. We also appreciate anything that we get through that. But why don't we jump right into the show? And so we both did some drafting at the Pro Tour, and I wanted to start off with our first segment every week is Biggest Movers. So this segment, we talk about what cards over the past week have moved up or down for us the most. So let's start with the up. For you, Nick, what's a card that's moved up for you this week?
So a card that's moved up for me this week, and pretty much over like the Pro Tour weekend, is Llanowar Scout. Llanowar Scout, it does a lot of things that you just want to do. It ramps you, kind of. It's a 1/3, which blocks really well in the format. It works really well with Tatyova, which is a big favorite of mine in the format.
Tatyova, kind of embarrassment of riches is if you have your Llanowar Scout with your Tatyova. Yeah. But I played a deck that played 2 Llanowar Scouts at the PT, so I can definitely get behind that card.
Yeah, before, like maybe a few weeks ago, if you asked me about Llanowar Scout, I'd be like, no, I wouldn't put that card in my deck, or I probably wouldn't put that card in my deck. But it's been really impressive every single time I've played it now.
Yeah, I don't think it's like amazing, right? But yeah, it's a lot more passable than I would have thought initially, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got to play a turn 4 haphazard bombardment off of my Llanowar Scout and put on all 4 of their lands, so that felt pretty good.
Haphazard bombardment, if you haven't read it super closely, which I previously haven't, it has little trinket text that says non-enchantment permanent. I was on MTGO. I was like clicking a fungal plots like crazy, trying to get it with the haphazard bombardment. I was like, what? Why isn't it working? What are you doing, Moto?
Yeah. I had to. So they had a Sarah's Wing on a turtle one time with that card, and I was like, no, I want to target the turtle and the Sarah's Wing. It's like and I was like, all right, whatever. And I read it, figured it out. I'm like, all right, gotta get lucky and kill the turtle. At least it'll be a 2-for-1 that way. And then it killed the turtle on the first try. I was like, good job, haphazard bombardment. So for me, my biggest mover up this week is, so I saw a lot of my friends at the Pro Tour, and then just like in general, a lot of white decks that were doing like relatively well. And like I had struggled building good white decks, But Pegasus Courser, I think, is going to be my biggest mover up this week because it seemed like the most critical card to make the white aggressive decks work. And you could like almost look at a white deck, look at how many Pegasus Coursers they had, and determine on how effective they were going to be at actually winning the game with that strategy.
That's interesting. Yeah, Pegasus Courser is probably just like even the best white common in the set, and it's not particularly close.
Yeah, I mean, some people are really high on Blessed Light, but I know Dustin Stern is on Twitter all the time, and he had Blessed Light as the highest white common, but the way that he ranked his cards, you could kind of tell that he doesn't like the aggressive white decks. But what are your thoughts on like what you should do with white, I guess?
So white does lean a little bit more aggressively, and I don't really feel like that's where the format is in general. So I don't like white so much, but Pegasus Courser is one of the cards that can kind of make your aggressive decks like that much better. Blessed Light overall in the format, maybe a little better, because it's easily splashable. It's just good removal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the color of the week is going to be white, so we'll bring that up a little bit after that. But all right, moving on. What do you think your biggest mover down this week is?
I haven't had really any movers down. Everything's kind of where I expect it to be. If I had to pick, though, Llanowar Envoy is my biggest mover down.
Yeah, just the 3/2 that filters for 2. Yeah.
Yeah. 3/2 in this format isn't great. It doesn't have any evasive abilities, which is important. It most times just trades off with their 3-drop, maybe even sometimes their 2-drop. And the filtering ability is okay. It's a little expensive.
Yeah, I mean, you normally want to splash. Like, if you're going to try to splash, you'll actually play some splash cards and not rely on your Llanowar Envoy to get there. But
exactly.
I have cast those, but they definitely are not great. So for me, my biggest mover down is it's probably going to be like, so I had, all right, mine's going to be Yargle. So Yargle wasn't great, but I did draft a deck at the PT where I had to play a lot of Yargles. Like, I had 3 Yargles.
With some Yargles? 3 Yargles?
So I had a legendary sorcery, and then I also had, like, not very many legends, and then I also had a Forebear's Blade, but I did win a game where I just equipped Forebear's Blade onto 3 consecutive Yargles. And so that felt pretty good. I was like, all right,
Forebear's Blade.
12 trample, all right, like the first one they're like, all right, take 10 but trade with my 3/2. I'm like, all right, here's another one, and they're like, okay.
Start slamming multiple Yargles. Oh my god.
But it was not good. That card, not as impressive as I had previously thought.
It just gets blocked by everything and dies to everything. It's a pretty good blocker though. Like, a lot of people don't want to smash into the 9/3.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely scary attacking into a 9/3 because it's like, how many do you need to leave back before you feel like you won't get smashed by a 9/3, right?
Yeah.
Like, if they have 2 favorable blocks, then they're probably okay. But like, what if they don't want to leave back 1 3/2, and then because then if you kill it, they take half their life total basically. Yeah. So it's an interesting card, but I've had it. I mean, it's good with Pegasus Courser. So. All right, but let's move on. So our color of the week is white, which we did start talking about it, but we can talk about the commons a little bit more. So what do you think are like the most notable commons in white? So you did say that you thought Pegasus Courser, maybe Blessed Light were the best. Are there any other?
Pegasus and the Blessed Light are definitely the best white commons. Some other notable ones, since white is kind of one of the more aggressive colors in the format. I've been more impressed with Aven Sentry than I might have been in other formats.
That's very true. That card is like relatively good. Like, it's like just pretty good. I thought it would be really bad because of Cloud Reader Sphinx, but it doesn't come up all that often that they like line up head to head and that you're losing really badly. So,
and a lot of people are normally fighting over the Cloud Reader Sphinxes at the table, where there's not a huge density in a lot of people's decks. Like, maybe they'll have one if they're playing blue.
Yeah. because I mean, some people say that's the best blue common. It's like a pretty, like that card is very good. One common that like it kind of stuck out to me is, so there's not a lot of tricks in this format, and so like Adamant Will is just like a notable one. Like it comes up a lot because white decks almost always play it if they're trying to be aggressive, and so it's like the main like it's that and there's what's the red tramp +3/+3 and tramp would run amok. Those are like the only two combat tricks that you almost ever have to play around.
Yeah, every time I'm playing on Moto and they're playing white, I'll offer a trade. I'll be like, "You want to trade for your Adamant Will? Go ahead, buddy."
Yeah. One card that was kind of weird to me, Call the Cavalry. That card's been bad. It looked so good to me, and then it like played horribly. But
it really just doesn't do enough. You get 4 power for 4 mana, which seems good, kind of like Baloth Gorger, but just like Baloth Gorger, it gets they don't get as easily chumped, but they just trade pretty easily with 2 drops, and the format's more about synergies than anything.
Yeah. Sweet. And then what are some of the uncommons that you like think are notable?
Uncommon, easily just On Sarah's Wings.
Yeah,
On Sarah's Wings
insane.
Is just a ridiculous bomb. Stick it on your Yargles.
Yeah,
for a million.
One of my first decks in this format, I played kind of like a Grow from the Ashes, splash everything. I had 2 Yargles, 2 On Sarah's Wings, and then I was playing Curator's Wards.
Oh yeah, there was a point in the draft at my Pro Tour, or at the Pro Tour, where I was in green-blue, and I saw an On Sarah's Wings come by like pretty early in pack 2. I was like, do I just take this and splash for it? Like,
especially if you're touching blue, like On Sarah's Wings on a turtle is like a go-to winning strategy.
Oh yeah,
but. Yeah, that card, even if you... So I normally try to draft it with the turtle just because I like it to be really safe. But even if you don't have that, like, normally if you're in white, you can present an aggressive enough curve that you can just kind of put this on one of your less assuming creatures, and then they then have 2 threats that they have to deal with, and it's a real issue for them. But
oh yeah. So what's an uncommon that you like?
So I like Quinde. I think you can use that pretty well. Like, it's kind of weird because people don't take him super high, but I think that if you have him early, then you can draft some cards higher and really take advantage of the first strike, have double strike. Like just Warlord's Fury. That card is like pretty low cost, and if you ever assemble that combo, it's like ridiculous, right? Every single creature now has double strike.
Even Fervent Strike, he really kind of warps your draft experience, because if you can like get a Fervent Strike and an Aven Sentry and a Quende, you're getting it for 8 in the air.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, and that's a lot of damage out of nowhere. For sure.
Oh yeah.
Some uncommons that have really underperformed for me is like Dauntless Bodyguard and Knight of Grace. So they're like different power levels, but both of them haven't like lived up to how good I wanted them to be. Especially the Knights, both the white and the black one. They're just kind of like, they're good, obviously, but you don't need good 2-drops in the set very much.
I think obviously where they shine is when you can enable them.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, either yourself or like any way to get them enabled. But if they're just random like 2/2s for 2 with first strike, they're usually not good enough.
Yeah.
Or they're good enough to play, but they're not like as good as you want them to be.
Yeah, they're not good enough to draft them where you normally draft them.
Exactly.
Right? Like you're giving up a much higher power level card. Which definitely sticks out to me. But how do you feel about white and sealed overall? Are there do you find yourself playing white very often in your sealed decks if you've played much sealed?
So white I like a little bit more in sealed because you can't build around your synergies as much as you could in draft. And that's when your random 3/2s, your Call of the Cavalries get a little better. Your Adamant Wills also get a little better. When you can just play creatures that are a little better than your opponent on curve, and that's I think what white is trying to do in sealed.
That makes sense. So if you open up some amount of like if you open a good white curve, it's like a very good supplemental color. At least that's how it plays out in a lot of sets where, I have these bombs that all cost a lot and maybe some removal, all right, what, like, I just need my dudes. Like, I need creatures so that I can do something, and like that white could definitely fulfill that role in the set for sure.
White fills the curve really, really nicely. Has some decent 2-drops, like your unicorns, like 3-drops.
It just has a lot of them, right? Like, it has 3 different 2-drops that are all.
Oh yeah.
Like
they're all okay. Like they're just fine. Filler. They're curve filler.
Yep. I agree with that. Going back to draft, what are there like certain color pairs that you prefer with white? Like, how do you rank the color pairs for it?
I think that the green-white deck is the best white deck that you can get.
Really?
Yes.
All right, explain what the green-white deck looks like.
So
yeah, go ahead.
What you want to do is you want to go wide. Shauna's obviously amazing in the deck. But commons that you want to see are like Yavimaya Sapherd. You want your Sergeant at Arms. You want your charges. Charge has really impressed me in the green-white deck.
Okay.
And then you just your bomb that you. This is why you go green-white, and this is what you want to see if you're already green-white. Song of Freyalise.
Okay.
That card's just. It's nuts.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. It makes sense that it would especially shine in green-white. I could definitely see that.
While the set is not as aggressive as it could be, or as aggressive as other sets, this is the like aggressive and synergistic deck that I think is the best aggressive deck in the format.
Interesting. How do you like, are you looking to play Llanowar Elves in that deck, or like Elfheim Druid, like those growing rights, like those types of cards?
I'm looking to play Llanowar Elves more than I am like Elfheim Druid. I'm not really looking to play Grow from the Ashes because you on Grow from the Ashes you just want to go and ramp into like something huge and draw a bunch of cards, whatever. But Llanowar Elves being a 1/1 is actually relevant when you're playing these charges, when you're playing these Song of Freyalise. It turns into a 2/2, and it actually trades with things. And it ramps you into your Yavimaya Sapherds, into your kicked Sergeant at Arms.
Perfect. Do you, how do you feel about Wild Onslaught? Is that like...
Oh yeah, Wild Onslaught's another payoff.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, I actually haven't had successful green-white decks. Do you normally find yourself getting in with like first picking a Song of Freyalise or something?
Yeah, first picking Song of Freyalise is an easy way to get into green-white.
Okay. That makes sense. I could definitely see that working out. I have played almost no charge, just in general, but...
It's a bit of an underrated card. It only really goes in green-white. But in green-white, it's not really good, but it's very serviceable.
Yeah. I could definitely see you needing more tricks. So the main deck that I've drafted in white is it's like white-red or white-black if I'm trying to be aggressive, and then like the white-blue Flyers deck that everyone thinks is pretty good. But
white-red and white-black are actually my 2 least favorite of the white decks. What do you like about them?
So I personally don't like white-black, but a bunch of my like people that I've tested with, they've drafted a lot of white-black. I don't know if that's just because they like it's more open, but like at the PT they both had like multiple or like 3 of their 4 decks were white-black or something, and they like it seemed okay, I guess, but that deck doesn't seem super synergistic. I could definitely see how it's more of like play some guys and kill all of your stuff and try to get there with like some legend.
Exactly. Yeah,
I guess, but
where the format's like built around synergies, white and black just has no synergies going on.
Yeah, I mean it tries to, and like it has like the Legends Matter themes a little bit, but it doesn't really have that many like pronounced synergies. Like you don't like get your insane god draw out of white black. Like that's just playing a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and a 4-drop. Whereas like in green white, you could draw up like this crazy draw where your opponent could almost never win. Yeah. White red is also, I've liked white red in that you get to play Adamant Will and Run Amok, and that makes it like pretty difficult for your opponent to play around. But red as a color doesn't really support being aggressive outside of a few cards. So there's like a couple aggressive red cards, but overall the color is like a little bit more controlling. So I could see, and like if white wants to be aggressive, it doesn't line up super well. So I could see that white green like going wide, trying to make charge useful as like a late pick could make a lot of sense. But yeah. Sweet. Did you have anything else that you want to talk about in terms of like the color pairs?
No, I think we didn't touch on white blue a little bit, but white blue is kind of just easy. It's just like flyers. You got your wrap. You got your Sphinx, the Aven Sentry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, white blue is like feels very straightforward. Like you play good blue cards, and you get to play Aven Sentry in addition to Cloud Reader Sphinx.
Exactly.
Right? Like, and which it does make sense. So like white blue makes good use of Deep Freeze. So Deep Freeze is like a pretty interesting card where if you're giving them an 0-4 matters, then the card's not that great and can go very late. But if you build a deck where you don't plan on winning any games that care about an 0-4, then it's very good. Like if your only threats are turtles and flyers, then an 0-4 doesn't do anything. So I think white blue is actually really good and just kind of like a reliable color pair to be in.
Yeah, it's an easy one to be in because both white and blue have pretty good commons, and blue especially. Blue has like the Cloud Raider Sphinx. Yeah.
That's most of my blue decks actually kind of wind up as I am blue. All right, well I have some good blue cards. What's the color that's open that I can like fill out my deck with? It's like a very common blue strategy. But how do you think white stands as a whole compared to the other colors?
Like I've said, white at the beginning of the format, I felt like it was the strongest one at the beginning of the format when I haven't played all too much. Okay. And as it's gone on, it's just kind of decreased in value for me, where you want to build around these synergies, and white doesn't have much room to build around the synergies. All of its creatures are kind of just aggressive and want to attack. Mm-hmm. So it's probably like middling for me. Maybe the fourth worst or the fourth best color.
Yeah, I've had a hard time ranking all the colors except for blue. I like go back and forth on them a lot, probably depending on like what's been more open recently. But white definitely it has some good cards like Gideon's Reproach and Blessed Light. Like having both of those at common is nice.
Yeah, it's got good removal and like easily splashable removal too. Mm-hmm, so if you, it can give you things that you wouldn't have if you're like maybe blue-green. Yeah, you can easily go into white and grab whatever you need.
Yeah, blue-green generally needs to splash its removal for that reason. Like you just don't have many options. But white doesn't normally have that problem. You normally wind up like at the end of your draft, you normally like, okay, I have a Seal Away, Blessed Light, 2 Gideon's Reproaches, or like maybe not that many, but you definitely have access to those cards.
Yeah.
Which it makes it pretty reliable. I think it's like a very reliable color. Like your draft deck will generally function pretty well if you have white, just because you'll have some creatures, some removal. Which is a good thing, I think. Maybe not as important in this format, but sweet. And then so let's move on to our training grounds this week. So the main topic that we want to talk about is splashing in Dominaria. So I think it's like a pretty important concept because so 2-color decks are like the default, right? In terms of like limited knowledge. And like building your mana base to be 10-7 or 9-8 or 8-8 if you're like, I don't know, like that those types of mana bases. But I think that's like kind of an anomaly in this format. Like normally you don't have a 10-7 mana base. That's like rare.
I feel like I don't think I have been, but I feel like I've been splashing way too much than I should be. Just because I'm splashing literally like 90% of the time in this format. I'm
the same way. A lot of it just comes down to you just open a really good card, right? Yeah. And like the difference in power level is pretty high. That happened to me at the PT. Like I had a black green deck or something, and then I got a third pick Jaya's Immolating Inferno.
Mhm.
I had like 3 legends already, 3 or 4, and I was like, well, this is better than any card in my deck currently, so I'll make it work, right? Like I like this card will single-handedly win more games than what most of my deck will be able to do otherwise. So
kind of the same thing happened to me at the PT. I was like blue and green, and then pack 2 I open Lyra.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll take this. I'll play it. It's again way better than anything else I have. If I can go into white if I want to. If not, I can splash it. Like because the format's slow enough to where you can get to a double splash.
Yeah, you really can. Like most games aren't ending before like turn 10 or something. Like they go pretty late, and you can afford to have like a card kind of rot in your hand for a little bit because it'll eventually win you the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I played Steel Leaf Champion off of 6 forests and like never had an issue casting it. Like
yeah, in the same Lyra deck, I was playing blue green and then like splashing Lyra. And I played a Steel Leaf Champion on turn 3.
All right, that's just outskilled. Like yeah.
Yeah.
That's very like. It's very weird though. So I think in general, all of the triple colored cards are also, in my mind, kind of like a splash in that you have to dedicate your mana base to them. So, or they're mana intensive. Like they put a lot of stress on your mana base.
Would you play a Chain Whirler if you were like main color black and then second color red and you're splashing blue?
See, that's like so. I've been more afraid of like the 3 color cards for some reason than like splashing just 2 cards of another color.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's right. Like I haven't played with a ton of the triple costed cards, but
me either.
I would they seem to work out pretty well. Like the ones that scale really well into the late game are better. So I think Chain Whirler is like one of the worst actually, whereas like Tempest Gen is a good example of one that's just great. Like Dread if you Shade. Play it late, it's almost better. Yeah, or like Dread Shade. And like Benalis Marshal, I think, is just like a very powerful effect, regardless of what turn you play it on.
Mm.
And so kind of like valuing that. But I kind of take them, when I'm picking them, I'm kind of thinking them as like how I would a splash, in that I need to construct my mana base to fit them.
Okay, that's interesting.
But they seem good. Like I think they're normally worth it if you're like...
I usually only take them if I'm heavily in that color already, or if that's like my main color.
That's how I am.
Yeah, I stay away from them, even if they're maybe not if they're my secondary color. If I'm going 10-7, maybe then I'll stay away from them unless it's Tempest Gen.
Sure.
Steel Leaf Champion and Goblin Chain Whirler, Benalis Marshal, maybe I'll stay away from. But Tempest Gen and Dread Shade, if they're my second color, I'll take them. Otherwise, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, they're very powerful. Like, I lost a game because he played a turn 3 Dread Shade. I was like, all right, I don't have an unconditional removal spell, so I can't beat this card. So
yeah.
They're definitely good when they work out, so they're probably worth it a lot of times. But what types of decks do you normally splash in? Like, are you splashing in every single deck, or only if you're in green, or only if you are going to the late game? Like, how's that working out for you?
Well, I'm splashing most of the time in a green deck because it's just so easy. You have Girl from the Ashes at common. You got Llanowar Envoy, which is kind of like a splash, not really. Yeah. Adventurous Impulse even could help you find like your splash color. Green is definitely way easier to splash in. But another thing that I'm looking at for my splash is if I have card advantage, if I have divinations, if I have dark bargains. So usually in any of my decks that are black, green, and blue, I'm looking to splash something if I can. Well, maybe looking to splash is kind of a bad way to put it. I will splash.
I mean, it's not really a bad way. Like, I will be full green-black, and pack 3, I'm like, I just really want to open a Tatiova, right? Like,
yeah.
in a lot of sets, that's not how you would be feeling, right? Like, you wouldn't be hoping to open a splash card. But in this set, very often one of the best possible cards that you can open is Tatiova when you're green-black and don't even have any blue cards yet.
The same goes for Rona even. Same goes for Slimefoot.
Yep.
All of these Sultai color cards are very, very easily splashed because green, black, and blue are the easiest colors to splash in this format, and very much worth the splash.
Yeah, they're better in the late game. They provide you a lot of inevitability, which is something that you want in those colors because you normally go late with them. But yeah, I think I don't normally view divination as a splash. Has it always been considered a splash? So I haven't played for a long, long time. So I don't know if I've played a draft set that had divination in it or where divination was good.
I haven't played a draft format personally myself where I've been taking divinations highly either.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't splash divination, but divination it helps you splash. It lets you.
Yeah, which is weird to me, but it works. You play, I'll have 2 ops and 2 divinations, and I'm like, well, of course I'm gonna draw my splash color. I'm gonna see 8 more cards or something, right? It's a huge difference, but it's definitely weird to get used to, but I've almost never been burned. I very rarely had my splash cards be stuck in my hand and it cost me the game.
Yeah,
I almost always draw out of it. It just works in this format.
It's because the format's so slow. People are trying to assemble these combos, play out their value engines, where you have time.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, how in are you going? So let's say that you're green black. You have no other colored cards that matter, but you have some legends. Let's say, and you open a Jaya's Immolating Inferno, or a Siege King Commander, or something like that. Are you willing to just snap off the double splash?
This is something that I actually ran into yesterday. I was in green blue already. Mm-hmm. I had, I think, a Grow from the Ashes. I might have had a Grow from the Ashes already. I open up Bells and Lock. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Get in here, buddy.
Yeah, I think you can actually I think even double color cards you can splash. I mean, you probably want Grow from the Ashes. That's the easiest way to be able to do it reliably.
If you don't have Grow from the Ashes, it does get significantly rougher. And we haven't mentioned Skittering Surveyor either.
Yeah, that card is I first picked a lot of Skittering Surveyors.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's the best first pick, but it feels really good just being able to have that assurance that you can splash if you need to.
It's not easily first pickable, but if the pack's weak, yeah, I can definitely see taking a Surveyor early, and I often do take Surveyors very early, pick 3, 4, pick 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean I had a pack where it was that or Gideon's Reproach, and it's I would just much rather have a Surveyor here, or that, or a weird rare Squee or something. And I'm I would just I could try to make this work, but I'd just rather have a Gideon Surveyor.
But yeah, I will go in if I just see a really powerful card. I already have a Surveyor. If I already have a Grow from the Ashes, I'll pick that Bells and Lock. I'll pick the right of Bells and Lock even.
How ambitious are you getting with your actual mana base? So let's say that you're splashing, you're probably playing 18 lands. Do you ever play 6/6/6 or do you ever have really bad mana bases or at 7/7/4 or something like that?
I
ever
usually
have that happen to you?
No, I don't go that deep. I do have a friend who I always fix his decks at pre-releases and stuff.
Sure.
Where he's got the 6/6/6 thing going on. I'm oh, it hurts my eyes.
It's a nightmare,
yeah. But I'm when I'm splashing, I'm usually just going, and something to note, I am playing 18 lands way more in this format than I normally would in any other format.
Yeah, you just have stuff to do with your mana.
Yeah,
almost every deck will take 7-8 lands in play. You have kicker cards. You have lots of card draw, which it means that you want more lands so that you always can be able to cast all of your spells.
Yeah, so I'll play 18 lands, and I'll play 9 in my main color, 6 of my second color, and like 3 of the splash.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's about right. That is normally something that, or more or less what I'm doing.
Yeah. Maybe if I don't have a surveyor, I'll adjust the numbers a little bit. Like I'll play 8 of my main color and 1 more of the other 2.
Sure. Yeah, I normally like to have 3 sources of the color that I'm splashing. So whether that be a surveyor or the basic itself. One thing to watch out is, like, you'll play a lot of decks that might only have one of a basic, but if you want to be careful with that if you have cards that mill yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that comes up surprisingly often in this format. Like, you play Windgrace Acolyte, it mills your island, and you're like, oh.
Okay. I guess I'm never playing the Cloud Raider Sphinx, Tatiova.
Yeah. You're like, oh, yeah, maybe I should put 2 islands in my deck.
Sometimes I'll play the Homeward Explorer as just like a 3/3 for 4, and I'll be like, I don't have any graveyard synergies. I don't know if they do. I guess I'll mill them.
That card's dangerous.
Yeah.
I saw in the PT someone, it was on coverage, I think. They like, all right, Homeward Explorer, mill you. And then they're like, all right, I didn't have anything to do. Soul salvage. They just soul salvaged back to, like, they milled, it was like a Rona and another creature or something. And, like, they just got to cast their soul salvage on turn 4 when they would have had nothing to do.
And I don't think you should be playing around milling yourself either. Like, if you have a Windgrace Acolyte, play it. Don't worry about milling over your island. Yeah,
I would just play 2 islands.
Yeah.
Like, that's my... So I think, like, you should definitely be milling yourself most of the time, because you'll normally have some type of... There's a lot of graveyard synergies anyway.
Yeah.
But you should, like, kind of at least keep that in mind when you construct your deck. But
oh, yeah. It's usually never right to go with 1. Even if you have... Let's say you have 3 surveyors. It just means that your numbers are kind of like... So you're playing 9 forests, 6 islands, and a swamp, or 3 swamps or whatever. It's kind of like you have 12 islands in your deck now instead of 9.
Yeah.
3 surveyors is a little extreme.
I've had it come up in decks where I want to play Llanowar Elves and a splash, just because then you want you want lots of forests, and then let's say that you have not a lot of green, but you have some Llanowar Elves, and then you say like lots of forests, but also lots of my main color, but I also want to play a Tatiova, and so you can get into weird spots. But I definitely agree that you can normally afford to play more than 1 of a basic for sure.
So we agree that green is a color that you're typically going to splash in more often.
For sure. I think that's the default. Like green and blue, I think splash the most.
How highly are you taking these Grow from the Ashes?
So I started off the format by taking them like real high. Like consistently would take them like 3rd, 4th pick all the time. And I will occasionally now, but I've like seen them wheel and stuff. Like they were wheeling in my Pro Tour drafts, which felt really strange. I think in general you want a reason to have them in your deck before you take them. So if I start the game off, like if I start my draft off with a 7-drop or a 6-drop, or go white card, like really good blue card, really good red card, and then there's a Grow from the Ashes, and there's ways that I take a Grow from the Ashes really early, but you want like a reason to do it. You don't want to just be like, oh, okay, first pick, Grow from the Ashes, and then just have a deck that all you can do is play a 7/7 Baloth Gorger. Like that's not going to win games. How, like, are you in a similar boat, or are you willing to like take them really early and just kind of?
I'm willing to take them a little earlier, even when I don't have like a real reason to do it. If I can see my deck going in a way to where I could use it reasonably well. Like if I took a couple of blue cards and I see a Grow from the Ashes, that's when I'm more incentivized to take it maybe 4th. Like if I take a Cloud Raider Sphinx and then 2 other good blue cards, and then I see the Grow from the Ashes.
Yep. I do think it works really well with blue, just because you have Divination to kind of supplement your using your mana on getting lands. And then blue has like a lot of really powerful cards that can give you inevitability and go into the late game.
Yeah. If I'm like starting at white and green, that's probably when I wouldn't take it, even like 6th pick.
Yeah. If you have a Shauna, you're like, okay, this isn't actually what I want to be doing. But I mean, it works pretty well with like most of the other colors. Green red, I don't think it works.
No, it's not. It's not great in green red. You do have a couple big things to do, like you can kick your Shivan Fires, but at that point, green and red doesn't really have any card advantage per se, like black and blue do with Dark Bargain. Dark Bargain has really been impressive in this format.
It feels like a draw 3 a lot of times, just because you see 3 cards. So
yeah, you see like 2 cards, you see a land, or you see 2 lands and a card. You're like, sweet, I'll bin the land. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah, you effectively like drew 3 cards because you didn't need one of them anyway. Yeah, that happens very often. I think. So, are you normally splashing bombs, or do you find, or are you like also just splashing removal? Like, do you do one or the other more often? Both? Like, what is it normally for?
I've mostly been splashing bombs if you consider like Slimefoot a bomb, which I do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm splashing like Slimefoot. I'm splashing Tatiova, splashing Rona, and like these random just great rares that you can open up randomly. Like again, Demon Lord Bells and Locks, one that I've splashed.
There's a bunch.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I splashed Haphazard Bombardment just because I needed, like, something, like, powerful, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good value card. And... Sorry. The removal... I'll splash it sometimes. But the removal feels... Sometimes... You don't need a lot of it in this format, I don't think.
Yeah, you don't really. I mean, it kind of depends on like what you're playing against, but a lot of times, if you have a powerful enough engine going, like you can beat your opponent. Like I've played many games in this format where both of us are doing our own thing, and it's kind of a test to see who can do it better. And sometimes it involves creatures, but sometimes it doesn't. Like I was going off with a Mirari Conjecture and Rona, and like pretty much just getting infinite Ronas, and so. And like would blink my own Rona to cast my Mirari Conjecture again. Like, and I'm like, all right, opponent, like that eviscerate literally doesn't matter at all. Like you can have as many eviscerates as you want. But
I want to be drafting that deck. I just want to make a note of that. I want to be drafting the Rona Mirari Conjecture deck so bad.
Yeah, it was sweet. And there's like you can do a lot of those things, or like Mindium Dominaria. There's lots of like mainly the sagas. I think a lot of the sagas are like busted. Like you can really go off them. And you can turn a game into something that having a Blessed Light in your deck is good, but not like maybe what messing up your mana base is about. Whereas something like Tatiova, that's like worth messing up your mana because you're going to win the game if you draw and cast Tatiova and they don't kill it almost immediately.
That being said, if I am green-blue though, and I have the ability to splash, I will pick up the Blessed Light. I will pick up even invoke the Divine. The removal's still great to have.
Yep.
I just don't think you need as many as you normally would like or would take in another format.
Yeah. And I normally try to like line that up with whatever bomb I'm splashing, right? So like if I have a Demon Lord Bells and Knock, I'll be like, okay, this eviscerate, I can take it because I'm really trying to get this Demon Lord. But I'll have swamps anyway, so I can play this eviscerate and take it over a middling green card because I'll be in black regardless. That happens a lot with that I've noticed. But do you have any? I think we've kind of covered most of splashing. Is there any like weird kind of corner cases that you wanted to go over, or anything unique about splashing in the format?
So. I can talk about my Day 2 Pro Tour draft deck that I had, where it was kind of wacky and wild, and I was in primarily blue, and I picked up these 2 Karn's Temporal Sunderings.
Okay.
A card that's like super powerful if you can cast it reliably. And I saw like Evra. I was in green, mostly blue and a little bit of green. I saw Evra. I picked it up. It was like, yeah, I want to cast these Karn's Temporal Sunderings, so I'll pick this up. Saw like Wrath, and I just saw like a couple of white legendaries, and I was like, yeah, I'll splash these because they make my Karn's Temporal Sundering like that much better.
Yeah. That is, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That's like the type of card where you're splashing powerful things like... So Evra isn't always great, but it's definitely powerful, right? So,
yeah.
Which I think is important. There's a lot of cards like that in the set where they aren't always amazing, but they do something unique and powerful. And Evra definitely falls in that category where sometimes it's bad, but sometimes you win on the spot. And you're like, oh, perfect.
Usually bad.
Yeah.
But just the legendary thing mattering is really powerful and like what you should maybe usually be taking it for.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's pretty good with Pegasus Courser. a theme of lots of cards.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about
flying. It's great. But
everything that's like great with Pegasus Courser today.
I literally like every time I look at a deck, I'm like, needs more Pegasus Courser, but yeah, like I guess it's okay.
Every time I look at a deck, I think, probably could use a little bit more forest, a little more islands.
Sure. I mean, I've mostly drafted a lot of probably Sultai. I drafted a lot of red too, but I think these decks are sweet, and being able to just open up your third pack and know like, all right, no matter what bomb, whatever color this like bomb is in, I'm going to play it is like a really interesting feeling. Not having to pass all the good cards around, right? Like you get to be in colors where you're going to reliably just cast pretty much everything that you open.
And another weird thing about that is where you can take all these good cards and all these colors. It kind of sometimes messes up the drafting portion, where you're sending these mixed signals. You have these weird signals coming around, and you kind of are lost, or you could be in a position where you're like, I have no idea what the guy to my right's in.
Yeah, which is, it's kind of fun. It's different, right? Like some formats, you're like on rails almost, and everyone finds their path, and then it's very easy. And then you can get really rewarded for like finding the right path and going down it. But this one, I think you have to think on your feet a lot in the draft format because the information that you're getting can change pretty wildly, and you really have to like use the like data point method, like not get married to the fact that you got a fourth pick Shivan Fire or a fifth pick, right? Like yes, that's a good sign, but that does not necessarily mean that red is super open.
I do fall into that trap more often than I'd like to admit, where I see this Eviscerate fourth pick and I'm like, wow, black must be open, and then I see no other black cards. I'm like, well, kind of sucked that I went in on that Eviscerate.
And sometimes what'll happen is like maybe it dries up in pack 1 and then pack 2 you're like, well, I didn't see much black, so like, or like I didn't pass any black, so I'm gonna get hooked up. But the person on your left just first picked a Demon Lord Belzenok and was like, all right, I'm going to make this work, so I will have swamps in my deck, so I'm gonna take all the black cards as well. And you're like, oh, this is crappy. But it definitely, that does come up quite often in this format. But I think it makes it fun. Like the drafting portion is challenging, and you like take it a lot of ways, and like
it's a draft format where starting out, I felt totally lost. I was like 1-2ing a bunch of drafts, and just not cashing out at all. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And then
it takes a while to like learn it for sure.
Yeah, once you start picking up on it, the draft format ends up being like tons of fun. You're building these like 3-color decks. You're not taking your Call the Cavalries as early.
Yeah, definitely learning what cards are deceptively bad is a huge part of it. Like some cards that looked great, not very good. Some cards that looked amazing or like kind of bad turned out to just be like what the format was all about.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Definitely fun. So I think that mostly covers what we were talking about today. Thank you for coming on. I had a great time talking to you.
Yep.
Yeah. And then how about, so Where can people find you if they are looking for you?
So I am at Sultai Guy on Twitter, and I promise I'm not talking about only like Sultai today because I'm like the Sultai guy. I just think Sultai is great in this format.
I think that's just right. I mean, yeah. I'll give you a pass. But.
And I am Sultai Guy on Twitch. I stream usually Monday to Thursday at around noon, mostly doing drafts.
Very cool. Sweet. And then, as everyone knows, mine is at DJ Cathro on Twitter, and then also on the Facebook page, the Constructive Criticism Facebook family. That's a great place to get into contact with me. And then I did want to, again, shout out our sponsors. So Oasis Games, very grateful to pick up a new sponsor in them. I know Alex, the owner, he's a great guy. I've traveled with him all the time. Really, really good. Great business to support. And then also the Mana Base, which we're super grateful for. They provide a lot of really cool content that you guys can check out. But besides that, I think that's everything that we wanted to cover this week. Did you have any last things you wanted to say?
I just want to say thanks for having me on. It's been awesome. I had a great time talking Limited with you. Yeah. I'm always down to talk some Limited.
Yeah, I think it makes the best discussions, man. Like, all the different opinions and stuff, but very cool.
Limited, best format, in my, best format, objectively.
It's the best. Like, it's the best to play. It might not be the best spectator sport, but in terms of playing Magic, it's the most fun.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really. Well, thanks for coming on, and we will talk to everybody next week. See you guys.
Bye, guys.